Today's edition of MacVoices is sponsored by Smile, the makers of PDF Pen, PDF Pen Pro, PDF Pen for iPad and iPhone, PDF Pen Scan Plus for iPad and iPhone, Text Expander Touch, and Disk Label. Find out more about all their great products at smilesoftware.com. And by lynda.com, the unparalleled online video training library. For a free 10-day unlimited trial, visit lynda.com/MacVoices. Welcome to Mac Notables on MacVoices. This is the Talk of the Mac community. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, for the first time in way too long, we have back with us Ms. Tonya Engst. Tonya, it's great to have you. Thanks for being here.
Hello, hello.
And somebody that she lives with, Mr. Adam Engst.
I'm easy to schedule at the same time.
Yeah, it really does work out. If I get one, I get both. Yeah. How are you, Adam?
Unless we need to give Tristan a ride, which is we actually were working on yesterday and luckily didn't end up having to do. So.
Oh, good. Well, there's
the life of the parent of the teenager.
Yeah, it seems to be that I witnessed that from afar, Adam, from very afar.
The rides have been the least of it. This week. We have had to track down a teacup, which required a midnight pickup. We have had to locate a black suit. And we've had to deal with an unscheduled loss of braces technology.
Let's start at the top with the teacup.
The first two are actually related.
A teacup and a black suit?
A teacup and a black suit. It is the Victorian tea for his combined history and English class this week.
Oh.
Hence the teacup and the black suit.
And the full dress. Luckily, we're hoping that it's not like he's not graded on it because the closest we could find was a charcoal gray suit my father gave me, and I don't think I've ever worn, so it's a little large on him, but, hey,
it's
whatever.
Going to be just great because I'm going to get the safety pins and the tape going later tonight, and it should hold up for an hour.
For some reason, I was going the other direction. I was going to prom in some strange way, but...
Oh, no.
I think it's safe to say that our son is several years from the prom.
Or considering said things.
I don't know, because the prom season seems to get younger and younger all the time. So I don't know.
I'll tell you what. If Tristan does the prom this year, we'll come to a special MacVoices.
Sold. I like it.
I think we're safe on this one, unfortunately.
Well, we could come to MacVoices anyway.
Yeah. Well, there's so much stuff we need to get through here. There's so many things I'm anxious to talk to both of you about. But first, this is a belated congratulations on the 25-year anniversary of TidBITS. I think when it happened, I was either away or doing something, I don't know, and I didn't get to have you all on. And so now you're well into your 26th year all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's been like weeks or something.
Well,
weeks in internet time is
that's right.
A long time.
Lots of stuff could have changed.
It's been good. The whole 25th anniversary kind of crept up on us as these, third decade anniversaries will. But we had to write a TidBITS article about it and generally talk about it. And so it actually has forced a certain amount of reflection, which was probably good.
Okay, so you've been asked a lot of questions about this. You wrote some articles. So I'm just going to try to hit the highlight. And the highlight I want to hit is, what did you learn in 25 years? What is the most important, or a couple of the most important lessons that you've learned from 25 years of doing a leading internet tech publication?
That we're kind of bloody-minded and don't give up.
Okay.
Consistency is king, basically, is perhaps a nice way to say that. That the easiest way to do something for 25 years is not stop.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I've got mine. Meet deadlines. Say yes when you can. Do a lot of research.
And make friends.
And make friends.
Go a lot further in this world with friends rather than enemies. Or even not friends.
That sounds like just a lot of good life advice there.
Yeah, this stuff turns out not to be very or either original or specific to running an internet business. It's all life. And it's probably, I'm sure there was some bestseller about this, everything I needed to know I learned in kindergarten. Yeah, a whole lot of it is really true. That it's not rocket science. It's just total common sense. And maybe that's not so common all places, but yeah, really just like being nice to people. Turns out to be a little hard for a whole large portion of the population, but you go a lot further when you do it.
That's true. Or Tristan, our son Tristan, one of his really good friends, his motto is don't be stupid and don't be a jerk. And, that covers a lot of ground.
Yeah. It really does. And unfortunately, I think we can all think of a few people that is really difficult for. So,
well, and I mean, here's a little bit of my pet peeve, which is that it seems as though there's a little bit of attitude about how, you want to be edgy and it's okay if you're telling it like it is, even if you're offending everyone in sight or making people's lives miserable, whatnot. Maybe sometimes that's true, but a whole lot of the time, just don't be a jerk.
Well, Adam, that stuff doesn't add anything to the conversation, in my view.
No, but it's 100% common on the internet now. That you can't read a day's worth of news without some bit of, look at me, aren't I clever and snarky by, putting down some person, product, company, whatever it is. And I don't know, it just I've been doing this for a long time, and it just leaves me utterly cold.
Well, and that's something I think that is notable about you. I've seen articles in TidBITS where you will warn someone about a dangerous situation, software, hardware, whatever, and dangerous as in data loss, not dangerous as in, you're going to be incarcerated. But beyond that, yeah, try to take the high road. You take a very positive attitude toward things. And I think that does distinguish TidBITS amongst a lot of publications, especially some of the Johnny-come-latelys.
Well, I think one of the real problems that happens is that people think that controversy is sort of the way to go. That if you gin it up a little bit, you'll get more readers. And who knows? Maybe that's true. But my experience is that if you either try to think more broadly, in other words, think about someone else's situation, or more specifically, try to think about the bigger picture of the people you're talking about, often it's never quite so clear-cut that, the product may do what it does for a reason, or it may just have been a simple mistake. It's not, necessarily some big conspiracy, or, it may not work for you, but it may be perfect for someone else. And I think that's actually increasingly hard. I actually blame blogs for this. I think blogs have made particularly writing, massively self-centered. That, because I'm a blogger, I'm going to tell you my opinion, and that's good. There's nothing wrong with your opinion, but it prevents people, I think, from thinking about the opinions of others who might be in the same situation as well.
Yeah, you see an awful lot of the top 5 things, the top 3 things, and okay,
we're such suckers for lists.
Yeah, well, and who designated those as the top 3 or the top 5? That's what I want to know. So. I'm sorry, because you both threw a lot of good advice out there. I'm not sure which one of you said it, but you said don't stop. And that is that because something might be catching up to you, or is it just it's easier to keep?
Don't look back. That's Satchel Paige. Great quote. Satchel, great. One of the very early black baseball pitchers. Don't look back. Something might be gaining on you. But yeah, don't stop. I don't know. I think there's just a certain level of used to be people got a job and they did it. And they did it for their entire lives. And not say that's good necessarily, but we've certainly switched to a situation where people change their jobs, their houses, frankly, sometimes their spouses every 5 years or something. And while again, I'm not judging any particular decision, it's led to a much greater rate of change. And so I think for those of us who have done the same kinds of things for a very long time, it seems unusual, that doing something for 25 years in our parents' generation, or grandparents' generation, probably wasn't a big deal. But now it's kind of unusual because people tend to jump around and do different stuff. And sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad, but it does become unusual.
Tonya, is there a momentum thing? Is there an advantage to just the momentum of keeping going?
Oh, sure. it's hard enough with all the new stuff we're writing about and all the new technologies that we've had to use over the years to keep on doing what we're doing. You can't reinvent the wheel every month. So there has to be some things that are just the same. So at TidBITS HQ, what is just the same is if it's Monday, there's a TidBITS issue. And, to some extent, we have built our lives around that in terms of, like when we shop or, when we do or do not socialize and just some things like that. It seems like Monday is the best day for us because it could just as well have been Tuesday or whatever, but Monday's the day. And just having that very built-in, as kind of a backbone, lets us improvise off of that.
And I do think that sometimes we actually get a little too sucked into that. So, I'd like to have articles appearing on the TidBITS website throughout the week, spread out relatively evenly. But because Monday is the deadline, and most people want to work on Saturday and Sunday, that means sort of Friday. So everything kind of often stacks up throughout the week so that it's ready for Monday. And it's guaranteeably ready for Monday, but it's not always spread out as evenly as I would like. And I'm as guilty of that as anybody. You get the issue out. It's Tuesday. Okay, now what am I going to write? And you start working on it, and it takes a few days, and suddenly it's Friday before you're publishing again.
That's a really interesting point because you all have kept the publication thing going as opposed to switching over to just a website only kind of thing. And I mean, I like that a lot because I can count on TidBITS arriving in my mailbox on Monday. And
just to interject, it's not that there's never new content on the website during the week. And especially if Apple has announcements or something really interesting is going on, we do get our coverage up. If Apple has one of those Tuesdays when they announce 3 new laptops and 6 new watches and, a new submarine, we will have articles about that before we go to bed on the website for sure. So it's not quite as
and personally, I think
that.
The Apple submarine is not good because it won't fit in my pond. So just so I'm on the record already as being against the Apple submarine.
Yeah, you heard it here first, folks. We've talked about the Apple car, and now we have the Apple submarine.
That's right.
I'm not sure what's next. The Apple.
That's right. My insider sources tell me that we will be seeing a submarine in summer 2016, and the only problem is getting the periscope working right.
And
it's digital, it's an iOS-based periscope, yeah. So that's it's Bluetooth, and 150 feet. The water's a problem. You cannot imagine the problems we have.
And next year, the moon base on the dark side of the moon. Yeah.
Hey, you got $200 billion. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, really, $200 billion is starting to be like evil genius kind of money. So.
Yeah. Well,
it's very dark on the dark side of the moon.
Yeah. So that's as far as we want to go because we specifically said we don't want to get into a lot of old war stories. They've either been told before or
that image writer I used back in 1988. It was the best. Yeah. No printer since.
Yeah. Let's see. Microsoft Word 5, I think. 5.1.
Well, that's a different story. Yeah. Word 5 was a pretty good version of Word. We're all in favor of that.
Yeah. Okay. But how about going forward? It's real easy to say. And the cool thing is to say, oh, what about the next 25 years? But what about going forward? Is TidBITS going to continue to be such an anchor in the community?
Well, every Monday morning. We will get up.
Easiest way to predict the future is to look at the recent past. It's a very interesting question. And, I don't think we have any huge insight that's not, that's like special into what's going to be coming. But it is something that we've been thinking about a lot, somewhat more generally. I mean, obviously, Apple has become this behemoth of a company. And at the same time, I think technology has become more generally spread through our lives so that in some ways Apple, despite being in our pockets, on our wrists and on our desks and our TVs, is, there's still plenty of other stuff going on. That's why the rumors of the Apple car are so interesting because that's a major technology platform where Apple isn't basically at all. They talk a lot about CarPlay, but it doesn't exist in any actual cars unless you want to buy a Ferrari FF. So you can buy third-party head units, but no cars yet. So but cars are really interesting. I mean, we live in the United States where cars are a really, really big deal. And they stay on the road for about 11 or 12 years. That's the average age of a car in the United States. And so it's a slow-moving target. But at the same time, you look at the research that's the test stuff that's coming out of, say, Google and Delphi, and some of the other companies are working on autonomous cars. And oh boy, self-driving cars, that's going to be an interesting one. Is that 5 years, 10 years? I don't know. That the technology is getting pretty good. I think Google has said that their cars have had only 11 accidents since inception, and those were all caused by people. The car actually didn't make any mistakes. And so, it's clearly not perfect. I mean, no one's pretending that this should be out tomorrow, but I think we're getting closer and closer and closer. And maybe we don't necessarily want one for everything we do, but man, if we could send our son off to his classes in it, and send him to his orthodontist appointment in the car, it's like, okay, go take the car, just tell it where to go, and that would be a big win. Just think of the productivity we'd gain.
That's
articles could get on the website a whole day sooner.
We spend a lot of time driving.
Yeah, but that's an interesting comment, Adam. I honestly hadn't thought about it from a parental standpoint, where you program the car to take it to the orthodontist and back, and that's it.
Oh yeah, and no, because that's serious. That's a lot of things. I mean, obviously, the younger the child, the less likely they're going to be going by themselves. But a teenager, come on, he'll be driving himself in a 6 months or a year. So in the last 3 years, if we could have just eliminated our driving, it would have been huge. And I don't think we even have it particularly bad compared to some parents that we know. So that's something which I think is going to be big. And also look on the other end of the spectrum, the elderly. That I do remember when my grandmother, when we had to basically take her car away because she couldn't reliably remember how to get home. And who knows physically whether or not she was actually, safe in the slightest bit behind the wheel. But that didn't mean she didn't want to go places.
Right.
But, how long do you have to go? And of course, I don't know the size of it, but the population of people who are disabled in some way, vision, physical handicaps, whatever, who just can't drive. Giving those people the freedom that everyone else has to get around, that's a big deal. And so, so I think that this is something which is going to have some really interesting lobbies once it comes into the legislatures, because that's where the question comes in. Let's face it, it's not about technology. The technology will be there really quite soon. I mean, if it isn't already, basically. The question is what happens with government and insurance agencies, and when accidents do happen, who's liable?
You're almost going to... Yeah, sorry, Tonya. Yeah,
I find it very interesting.
yeah, we can tell. We can tell. Yeah, it's. I think it's almost going to have to. I mean, I know a little bit about the insurance part, and it's almost going to require what a number of states have, almost a no-fault law, where you buy the insurance for you, and it's not going to matter as far as liability goes, or the corporations are going to fight out the issues of cause. But for you, it's just going to be, okay, you bought it from company X, so that's who's going to fix your car, going to take care of you if you're injured, et cetera, et cetera. So, and that's going to change the market a lot.
Well, the last accident we had was when a deer T-boned us. It wasn't that I hit the deer hit me, but his insurance did not cover a thing. Yeah. So I'm just saying this whole no fault is clearly the way to go.
But that's one of those incidents that it wouldn't have mattered if your vehicle was self-driving.
Right.
The deer would still hit
actually,
it.
It might have or might not have. Who knows what a self-driving car could have sensed that I couldn't?
Yeah,
in other words, could the car have sensed that there was a large object moving fast towards the road, off the road?
In darkness.
It wasn't quite dark, but when he was coming down a bank. So, okay. I didn't see anything, but, and also it was moving too fast. But maybe it couldn't have been avoided, maybe it could have been. I don't know. But I do know that as a person, I stood no chance. I was looking down the road. That was an appropriate place to be looking. And again, he hit me in the side. I mean, hit me in the driver's side of the car.
It really did just run into the car. I mean, Adam really did nothing wrong whatsoever.
It was very surprising. Deer come out
just
of
ran
nowhere
into the car.
and
That's
hit
just
the
all there
side
was
of the
to
car,
it.
not the front of the car, the side of the car. I thought he should have been looking where he went. Come on.
Yeah. I've had that experience in the darkness, and just all of a sudden in your headlights, there's a deer on your hood, and I mean, if I'd have blinked, you'd have missed it.
Yeah,
it's kind of amazing.
Yeah. So, but I think that's going to be a big deal. But again, society's going to have to really think about this, because, I mean, not to get too macabre about it, but really, what's to prevent someone from loading a car up with a bomb and a timer and sending it to the local government office? Self-driving bombs. I mean, there's going to have to be various kinds of regulation. Then we get into the whole sort of taxi issue, or there's the ownership issue. First of all, why would you own a car if you can just use your Uber or Sidecar app to call a self-driving one to come and get you? The whole taxi industry is already getting hit hard. It's going to get hit even harder once that's true. Do the car companies sell many fewer cars once this happens? Because I mean, we might have one car, but we have two cars right now because we need them just often enough that it's a real problem. But if we only could, if we could get away with having one car that was available, and then the other person who needed a car just occasionally, could order one up via an app, that would be pretty neat. We would do that. That would be a lot cheaper than having to having to actually own two cars. So I think there's going to be a lot of changes that come into play, and we'll see. I mean, some of them are going to be good, some of them are going to be bad, some of them are going to be perceived as bad by the people who they affect. The old buggy whip maker problem.
Yeah, long haul trucking is prime for this, because you don't have to pay the drivers, and the trucks can roll as long as the gas holds out.
Yep.
So they're just,
and as truck drivers are actually usually great drivers because they get so much experience. But on the other hand, there are sometimes, working too many hours and all those kinds of things. And we had a terrible accident in Ithaca last summer where a truck driver came blasting down a hill. His brakes failed, and he destroyed a bar and killed someone.
Ooh.
I mean, he literally ran into a building on the side of the Commons, a pedestrian mall, and killed the woman who was working at the bar. And it was a terrible accident. And again, would a self-driving car, a self-driving truck have not had its brakes fail? I don't know. Maybe if it had been maintained badly, it would have still failed. But it probably wouldn't have done the things he did. And so, hopefully those kinds of situations can be made better. But I think we're probably a ways off from a lot of this. But I don't know. What do you think? 5 years, 10 years? What's your bet?
Oh, I think definitely within 10 years, easy within 10 years, to some degree. I mean, that's the thing. It's going to be a long time before it becomes completely ubiquitous. But I think that you're definitely going to see something happen for lots of reasons. I think safety reasons. I think just what you're saying, convenience reasons that people are going to demand. I don't know. I don't know how quickly it'll happen, but it's going to happen. And who's to say that's a bad thing? Today's edition of MacVoices is sponsored by Smile, the makers of PDF Pen, PDF Pen Pro, PDF Pen for iPad and iPhone, PDF Pen Scan Plus for iPad and iPhone, Text Expander Touch, and Disk Label. Find out more about all their great products at smilesoftware.com. If you work with PDF documents for business or just for yourself, then you need PDF Pen from Smile. PDF Pen gives you the power to edit and annotate your PDFs, run optical character recognition on them to turn them into editable text, and even export them to Microsoft Word. With the Pro version, you can export to Excel and PowerPoint, and that means you can also export to Apple's Pages, Numbers, and Keynote too. Smile just released yet another great update to PDF Pen, bringing it to version 7.1. Now you have new ways to control page numbering, including control over font, color, formatting, and page range. You also have new stamps to choose from, like paid, faxed, copied, and more. You can even create custom stamps that contain your name and the date the document was stamped. PDF Pen 7.1 also brings auto-deskewing when performing optical character recognition, And that's a great thing because it improves the quality of the resulting scan, making it even more useful when you annotate it. And there's improved voiceover support in PDF forms as well as other fixes and improvements. All that on top of interactive PDF forms, integration with iCloud Drive, and a whole lot more. Want to learn how to use all these great features? Michael E. Cohen wrote the book on PDF Pen, literally. In Take Control of PDF Pen 7, you can learn all about the great new features and how to put them to work for you. You can find PDF Pen 7 and PDF Pen Pro 7 on the Mac App Store, or you can download demo versions and buy direct from Smile at smilesoftware.com. Find out just how much you can get done with your PDFs with PDF Pen from Smile. Smile, the makers of world-class software. Thanks to Smile for their ongoing support of MacVoices.
It comes down to, once again, technology is value neutral. It's how it's applied that matters, and the intent with which it's applied and the effects which it has, both intended and unintended. And so that's always going to be the question, and you can't stop it. I think that's one of the things we've learned. I need to read up more about the Luddites. Ned Ludd, and they were not anti-technology. They were don't destroy our way of life in favor of horrible working conditions in factories where people are little more than machines. I mean, they were artisan craftsmen. And so what they were protesting against was these massive fabric mills, and where they were basically being replaced by low-skilled, low-paid workers who had work in horrible conditions. And that's not a bad thing, to be against that kind of people as machines approach. But it was unfortunately not the time to be in that position. And so, I think that we need to think carefully about that stuff.
You bring up an interesting point, and I want to pull it back to TidBITS. This is a great discussion, but I do think that I've seen a shift over the years in TidBITS from away from software reviews, hardware reviews, and some of that, to talking about the impact of technology, goods and bads, and what it's going to mean. What would mean? And all right, we'll just go ahead and do it. What's it going to mean now that we all have one of these on our wrist? Because
salute.
There's one. Tonya? Yeah.
Everyone salute.
Okay.
Oh, you got to have the fist.
The
Apple
fist,
Watch will
yeah.
The fist. That's a new one.
Salute.
But what is that going to do? What are the implications of that for our health, for our privacy, for the further convenience of access to information? Those are really this is a fascinating little device, but I think those issues are equally fascinating, if not more so.
Right. I think that's something that, we've been talking a lot about here in our home. And we've been, sort of as your very classic, Mac users, I think we value, elegance and efficiency and something that's designed well and something that, sort of helps us do something we couldn't do without it. And, we've been looking more broadly, not just at Apple's products, but just, at the world around us. There are a lot of companies doing interesting things right now. And so I think we're interested, as we look ahead, not only in how people are responding to all of these different things going on, but also just all these interesting things that are going on. So one of the things we're kind of contemplating for going forward is just looking a little bit more broadly at some of the different things that are going on.
I think the Apple Watch is an interesting example of technology moving ever closer to the body. And I didn't actually make the joke. I was planning on. I got my Apple Watch. First time I got my Apple Watch, I was like, "And it is good. The Apple Watch is good. I appreciate what Apple does for me." I didn't. It was sort of the implant joke. But I don't find the Apple Watch to be life-changing. I think Tonya can say more. I think she likes it more than I do, in fact, because for me, the phone's always here. I've always got the phone in my pocket. It's always available. So for me, the Apple Watch does not actually make technology closer to me. It does not give me features that I wouldn't have because it's too outside my sphere. But, that's only one side of kind of the importance of this, because it's technology moving closer and then sort of enabling other kinds of communications, as you said, privacy issues. We don't really know very much about that now, but I do see a lot of people, expressing concern. They may not know anything about it, but they're just like, no, why would I want that on my wrist? Because it's clearly in some way tracking me or whatever. And it's not actually any different than having the phone in your pocket, but it feels that way because it's attached to you.
But it bothers me that that's becoming our reaction to so many things new. It's not looking at the opportunities; it's looking at the concerns. And I really don't think I don't feel like there's a balance to it anymore. I feel like the first thing out of people's mouths or the first people in their minds is the negative.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think that's because it's just so difficult to deal with things always changing. So if something comes along, you're going to have to learn something new. How much better would it be as if there was an excuse to not learn it? So if it's it's too big brothery, or
you dodged the Google Glass bullet, right? You didn't get a Google Glass, so you dodged that whole bullet. You didn't have to learn all about it.
Yeah, but
time saved.
Yeah, but boy, that seems to be a deeply cynical view, and I'm not saying I disagree with it either.
I think I don't think it's so much a deeply cynical view. I think people just get to a point in their lives where their brains are full, and what they want to focus on is something besides the newest, nextest, greatest, whatever technical gadget. They just need to focus on, their daughter's wedding, their divorce, someone died, they got a puppy, they took up yoga, whatever it is. They want to do board sailing in Fiji, and they can't focus on the technology. But instead of being able to just say, you know what, I'm not going to learn a single new thing about technology for the next 2 years, and I'll just catch up later. For some reason, what I think people do sometimes is they just say, well, that's stupid, so I won't learn it. That's a bad idea, so I won't learn it. Or hopefully that will go away by the time I have time to learn it.
Here's another way of looking at it. So, I think Steve Jobs famously said something about how, Apple doesn't listen to what people want because people don't know what they want. And it's Apple's job to provide them something they don't realize that they want. Well, here's another way of looking at that, which is that maybe people do know what they want. And, you can provide all sorts of extra stuff. But in fact, as I said, if what they want is a new puppy, or what they want is to be able to, go home from their job and have dinner without having to work till 10 o'clock at night every night. Or, there's just all of these things which technology doesn't help one bit with. And when we're told that, to make your life complete, you have to buy this new thing, some percentage of people are just going to say, no, I don't want to. And sort of stop telling me that I have to buy the new thing to somehow make my life complete. If it doesn't actually do anything you want, maybe it's not for you.
Or even if it does do something you want, maybe just not right now.
I might like a power boat, once every 5 years, but that doesn't mean I'm going to buy a power boat. Might be fun.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go with you on the power boat, but but I'm going to challenge you on some of the other stuff, because I do think that there are things that have made our jobs easier. Now, the expectations have gone up for productivity, both speed-wise and quantity-wise, no question about it. But there are things that have indeed made it, and it's a failure of the humans in the equation to say, okay, this has made my life better, so it's given me more free time.
But I don't think we're talking about productivity at this point. Almost nothing that Apple releases nowadays is for productivity.
Well, maybe at the moment, I'll give you that. But I'm taking
really,
the technology.
Apple Watch, iPad, iPhone, for the most part, not productivity. Mostly communication, which might be productivity for some people. A whole lot of non-productive things might be perfectly entertaining. Nothing wrong with that. But the last time Apple did something that really made me more productive, well, I guess the 27-inch iMac. Nice machine, fast, great screen, makes me more productive. Thunderbolt display, could use an upgrade, to make me more productive. But that doesn't seem to be where Apple's focused now. They're about making stuff we want, not stuff we need.
Okay, I'm going to argue with you because I think the iPad, well, the iPad, the Apple Watch to maybe a lesser degree, at least so far. This jury's still out on that one. Clearly, it has improved. It has improved information delivery to me, and in some cases, communications away from me. So I think that does add to productivity.
Has it improved it, or has it simply moved it?
Do
you really do anything different than you did before, based on the hardware, not the yes, probably there's new websites, or maybe you can use Twitter more effectively, more or something like, I don't know what it is, but is the hardware actually improving productivity, or is it just different? You might prefer it.
Yeah, I think it facilitates it. I think that we've had the discussion amongst the three of us before about text messages, and text messages are now a pretty essential tool. FaceTime, Skype video, Skype calls and Skype video. I defy you to find a grandparent who doesn't think that Skype video is just fantastic because they get to see their grandkids from hundreds of miles away. So, and they can do it on their iPad. They don't even need a lot of specialized hardware. So I do think
but they could do it on their Mac.
That's not making them more productive, although it does make them more productive if their goal is to spend more time with their grandkids, sort of.
So is it depending on how we measure productivity?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I guess if we're talking about what's your goal, right? So if we're just talking about office productivity, which I think is what Adam was more referring to, yeah, I think he probably has a case. I think it's possible to be quite delusional for several years that your iPad is making you more productive, but I don't really think so. But if your goal is to do more FaceTime with your 2-year-old grandchild, the iPad is great for that. Although you really could do it on your Mac, but you might not be at your Mac when your grandchild tries to get hold of you.
Yeah, I get the impression I'm going to fight a losing battle because it's going to be two against one. But I'm going to hold on to it because I think about the fact that now I have a camera with me at all times, and so I can.
But how does that make you more productive?
It makes me more productive because I have access to more information. It makes me more productive because I can take pictures of not just the tree or the vista, the beautiful vista, but of the whiteboard that came up with the next great idea. Or I can record meetings and capture the information that otherwise might be lost.
There's one that you can do.
That's a good example.
Yep, that's a good example. There's actually, I use Pair Notes sometimes for that, although honestly, I never use the notes. So record them, and I've never listened to a single Pair Note thing I've recorded. So
I recently did back to a recording.
Okay.
That was pretty cool.
So, yeah. But there's the failure of
I guess my point is that again, this is how the world has changed. Technology has become more broad. It's not about productivity. It's about communication and entertainment and all of that, and that's fine. But it becomes much more optional then, and that I think is something that is often lost in the marketing, which really has gone heavily into sort of the lifestyle thing. I mean, you look at Apple's ads. Oh man, do they have a lot of fun? Those people in those ads are just having fun, and I really want to know where their vacations are, because they are having way more fun than I seem to have a lot of the time on mine.
I think we're having fun.
Yeah. We do, but compared to the Apple people, they are just. I'm saying they're just out there. You look at all those photos. Jeez. Plus, they seem to have a professional photographer to record their fun.
It would be more fun if we were on vacation and there was a professional photographer following us around at all times.
Okay, all you pro photographers, here's an opportunity. Use your Apple technology to follow Adam and Tonya.
Once we have the drones that just kind of hover up here and take pictures of us, so that will make us,
yeah, that would be a prediction for the future. Selfie drones.
Selfie drones. Oh, it's going to be sad when we have selfie drones. Ooh,
Oh.
selfie drones. It's okay, selfie drones, I'm guessing 5 years.
Oh, I think 3 years.
3 years?
Oh, come on.
There's one out now, or it's coming out, and I
know of one which is like a selfie drone for extreme sports people.
Yeah.
You know, you wear this band on your wrist, and then it follows you as you mountain bike down some insane thing, and then
they have them then.
Yeah, then it has the location for the people to come and rescue you after you've crashed and broken your neck.
Yeah. And if anything, I think that's a better use of drone technology than a lot of the ones we all lust after just to fly around and play with.
And in fact, like, why have the thing on your wrist? Why not have it just kind of follow you around?
Oh, you have to have the thing on your wrist so it knows where you are.
Well, that's true. And I guess then you decide when to
this particular company, I can't remember the name of it offhand. It was like $1,500. But what they found was the connection with the phone wasn't strong enough, so that they actually had to have a more powerful transmitter that you wore on your wrist that allowed it to track where you were. So that was.
Yeah, we need to write a TidBITS article about that. I think we should tell Josh to write about that.
Selfie drones.
Yeah.
I was just actually the trail race that we did last weekend in Oakland. When we were after our conference, there was a guy. He ran one of the other races. I didn't see him out there, but he was wearing a GoPro strapped to his chest. And it was right before the race. I didn't get a chance to ask him too much about it. I was like, "Ooh, does that actually work, or do you just like bouncing the whole time?"
Yeah. So, well, see, that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for Adam Engst to document one of these runs with a drone flying behind him.
Hey, someone wants to send me a review in it, I will use it. And my friends will laugh at me. They're already laughing at me because I'm wearing 2 watches on my runs.
Yeah, we're ridiculous. This whole summer, whenever we go out to exercise, we have to wear our Garmin and our Apple Watch. And our friends are just like mocking us in the nicest way
Garmin
possible.
too, so I just strap it on and double up.
And we have, whenever it's time to start, you have to turn off both devices. I have to like start 30 seconds before everybody else to get everything turned on.
So what does the Garmin do? I mean, what is the purpose of the Garmin?
It works as opposed to the Apple Watch.
Oh, good. Thanks, Adam.
No, seriously, the Apple Watch. Okay, I'm still writing the article about the Apple Watch and fitness, but basically, if you're a runner or even moderately serious biker, the Apple Watch is just not really okay. It doesn't do anything much that you would want, except for potentially keeping track of your distance with some level of lack of precision. So, for instance, today I rode my Elliptigo into Cornell to go running with my friends. I knew I was going to get poured on. The Apple Watch did survive, thank you very much. But I was not going to take my iPhone. There was just no way. So when you don't have an iPhone, the Apple Watch drops back to using its accelerometer for running. For biking, it got me at 0 feet for my 16-minute bike ride.
Because you recall the Apple Watch has no GPS, so it can guess where you are, but it can't know the way a unit with a GPS in it can know.
Garmin, on the other hand, I was able to put it in ride mode. It captured the entire thing. It would tell me all this stuff. It's you can't. I probably can't see this. It's it's LCD, so you can view it in bright sunlight, unlike the Apple Watch, which you can't really see in bright sunlight. It's got buttons that you can touch without and control it without looking. Unlike the Apple Watch, where you're always trying to use the glass interface. So I got into Cornell, went for my run. The Apple Watch uses an accelerometer, but it calibrates the accelerometer, so it knows how many steps you've taken. Every time you step, there's a shock, a boom, boom, boom. But it has to know how long your stride length is. And it figures that out by when you run with the iPhone, it starts to calibrate itself. Which is all fine and nice if you always run on a flat surface and you always run the same pace. If you don't run the same pace or you run on hills, say, uphill or downhill, your stride length is going to change and the Apple Watch then gets less accurate. So, that's a lot of the stuff that's going on. I find also, I'm just starting to research this more. Apple Watch is very calorie intensive. It's always big about calculating how many calories you've burned and all this, that, and the other thing. And I'm trying to figure out if this has any meaning whatsoever. It's a number. It's data. But as a physicist friend of mine I was running with today said, most data is crap. So, you can have it, but it doesn't mean anything. And so calories is a perfect example of that. The only thing that, as far as I can tell, can be said of calories is that when you're exercising, more is better.
This edition of MacVoices is sponsored by lynda.com, the unparalleled online video training library. Everyone likes to try before they buy. That way you can be sure you know you're getting what you pay for, that it suits your needs, that it delivers on the promises, that it delivers for you. That's why I'm so excited to point out that you can get a free 10-day free trial of lynda.com at lynda.com/MacVoices so you can answer all those questions for yourself. Find out why millions of people all over the world are using lynda.com to start learning about things like business, communication, and design. To improve their skills with programs like Logic, Adobe Lightroom, and WordPress. To demystify Facebook. To understand Instagram. To improve their presentations. See, that's the point. lynda.com has an amazing span of topics to choose from, so you can use it for work or for pleasure, for home or for office, for professional education, or your favorite hobby. And these videos aren't just put together by anybody. Each lynda.com author is an expert in their field, sharing their knowledge with you, just like you were attending one of their classes in person. You can get access to the entire lynda.com library free for a full 10 days. No restrictions, no limitations. Watch as much as you want for 10 days. Watch any topic, any subject, any software tutorial you want for 10 days. You pick what you want to learn about, and then go get it at lynda.com/MacVoices. I'm always looking for an interesting new video to sample, so let me know what you're watching by emailing me at chuck@macvoices.com. Maybe I've seen it, maybe I haven't. It's time for you to invest in yourself, and you can start that investment today for free at lynda.com/MacVoices. Do it right after the show, or open a new window in your browser and do it now. But by all means, do it. lynda.com/MacVoices for a free 10-day full trial. Thanks to lynda.com for their support of MacVoices. And isn't that kind of the point? I don't know that it makes a big difference if I burned 500 calories in the last 2 hours or 498 calories in the last 2 hours. Isn't the whole idea that I've burned something, and like you say, more is better, and it's an indication that I didn't have before, and maybe at the end of the day it will get me up off the seat and out in front of the camera and out, doing something a little more?
Yeah.
I think I just want to chime in here and say, first of all, I was concerned about the calories just because I know I think it's maybe a little bit more of a women's issue, but men too, where we really want people focusing on their overall health and not on, oh my gosh, I only burned 450 calories today and I really got to get up to 500. Like, that's not really a healthy approach, especially since if you're not exercising in different ways, it's not very good for you. So if you're just like, oh my gosh, I have to jump up and down until I got my 50 calories, or I have to get on the treadmill for another, 10 minutes, that's not nearly as healthy as, a more balanced approach where you're doing, weight training and, moving your body in different ways, and yoga and swimming and biking and just sports, whatever. But so this sort of very narrow focus on calories isn't necessarily that healthy. And I thought, especially when you hear about a lot of young people who end up with bulimia and eating food issues, it may not be the most helpful thing to have that much focus on the calories.
The other
thing I wanted to say is Garmin and some of the other sports watch manufacturers have had, I don't know how many years, quite a number of years actually, to figure out what it is that serious athletes, triathletes, just for instance, people who do a lot of running, cycling, and biking, want in a sports watch. I mean, what works well in real conditions when it really matters. And they have created Yes, they have created devices that actually work pretty well, and a lot of people really like them. And what Apple has done is taken, a watch that does, 8,000 things and stuck some fitness applications into it. And it's even the fitness applications that Apple provides are much more like lifestyle. So if your goal is to be more active and by the end of the summer walk a 5K, this will be helpful to you because it will make it fun to, get points for standing up at least once an hour for 12 hours in the whole day. things like that. So it will make it fun, but it's just a different focus. And I think you sort of can't, you can be disappointed in the Apple Watch because it would seem like, well, why not, why should you have to have two watches if you're, more serious about your athleticism? But on the other hand, the Apple Watch is trying to be a lot of things to a lot of people. And maybe in, 3 or 4 years, Apple will kind of catch up. But on the other hand, the Garmin and the Fitbit and some of the others, they're providing, different features at different price points, and that's good too. It is always good when you have competition, so that more than one company is trying to create something great.
Adam?
So that's my 10 cents, at least 15 cents, actually.
I was just going to say the other thing I've been learning about calories, I'm trying to figure out more about this, is that there's this completely mistaken view of calories in, calories out, that, if you eat 200 calories, then you've got to burn 200 calories, and it's just wrong. That the fact is your body just doesn't, macronutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats are absorbed. The calories in them are absorbed at different percentages, different efficiencies, and it's even different by person. Your bacterial overlords in your gut determine fairly significantly. Oh yeah. Believe me, your bacterial overlords are really, they're the ones running everything. But your microbiome actually controls fairly significantly how you process calories, and so it's and then what you're doing, after during or after eating changes how much is absorbed. All that it's not an equation. It's not a simple equation. It's not just the, wow. I mean, like I went for a run today and I apparently burned, I think, 567 calories, according to the Apple Watch. Does that mean I can have, 2 of those little bags of M&Ms, which are 250 calories each?
No.
Well, actually, it means I can eat as many of those M&Ms as I want, but
No.
It's unrelated. I don't have any M&Ms, so it's not really a question, unfortunately. But isn't it? It's people get into this kind of reductive. Oh, it has 250 calories. It says therefore X is true. No, X isn't true. You don't know what that means. What it means is for you is different from what it means for me. What it means for anyone else, and I think trying to reduce it to that is just, I don't know. It's like this thing, all this precision around something that has no actual meaning beyond, try to exercise more and eat less. That's all it comes down to. But at 567 versus, 467, I don't know. There's no connection.
See, believe it or not, I actually agree with you on a lot of that, because I do think that there's a slight danger here that we're getting data, and we're back to your physicist friend. We're getting a lot of data, and it doesn't really mean anything. I'm not sure that I should be prescribing my own workout regimen or my own diet changes or whatever, because I'm not trained in it, and I don't have the time to be trained in it, and that's why you go to see the doctor or maybe a trainer or something,
or a nutritionist or a coach,
yeah,
or who hopefully knows more about this.
Yeah, hopefully. So, yeah, that's a whole other discussion. But I do think that there is something good about a little. It's increased my awareness of certain aspects of my day when you sit down and you'd swear that you're moving around a lot more than you are, and suddenly your watch taps you and says, "Hey, it's time to move, dummy," and you think, "Wow, didn't I just do that?" And then an hour's gone by.
I think, wait a minute, I'm sitting on an airplane seat, or actually, I was just moving. Now I'm not moving.
I think I'm working at a standing desk. Why is it telling me to stand up?
Yeah.
I think the watch needs to be a little smarter.
Yeah. No, I think this is a really big issue, and actually, it's nowhere more relevant than the health app. But if you look at the health app on the iPhone, it's terrible. It's truly awful. It's vast amounts of data, which is utterly inscrutable. It's charts, or you can see the actual data points, which is even more inscrutable. And what we are not getting from this data is meaning or actual actionable recommendations. And so, some of that, again, setting these very specific numeric goals of calories, maybe that's a little over the top, but it could say, after watching you for a while, hey, if you're trying to lose weight, maybe you should try exercising for 10 minutes a day more. or whatever the goal is, trying to use some of that knowledge in the heads of the doctors and the nutritionists and the coaches and the trainers to actually bring some meaning and some advice based on it, rather than just kind of presenting it all and then kind of throwing up our hands like, oh, well, we don't actually know what this means, but look, you took 8,000 steps yesterday.
What I think is really interesting about all this data collection isn't so much necessarily what one person can do with their own data, although I know that is interesting to many people and even to myself. But what I think is interesting especially is when a whole lot of people put their data together. So I think it would be really fascinating to know, like for everyone who has an Apple Watch, when are the periods of the day when people are the most active, or just how many calories does the watch think different people are burning? Do people in California burn more calories per day than, people in Idaho? I mean, I don't know. It seems like that would be pretty interesting. And you would never in a million years be able to figure that out without something like that. And another example of something that I wish I had known about last week when I was in San Francisco is the folks on the Strava website have been putting together people's data. And Strava is a website that athletes use to log and share their workouts. So you can actually connect your Garmin watch, just for example, right to the Strava website. And then after you go on a bike ride or a run, a little map of where you went gets uploaded to Strava, and all your social networking friends there can see it, and you can go back to it and see it later and stuff. But what Strava has actually done is they've made about 15 local guides to some of the bigger cities around the globe, where they've actually figured out where their users run the most frequently. And then they've made that information available to everyone. So if you're visiting in a city, you can see where where are the 15 most awesome runs. And that's pretty cool. Like, we couldn't do that without these devices and the ability to put the data together.
We're being tracked.
There, you can go see where I ran today.
Ah, okay. I'll put that in the show notes.
It was a good run.
I know one thing, that based on this conversation, TidBITS is not going to be boring, in at least anytime soon, because first of all, there's a lot of passion with you two about this, and I know the same kind of passion carries over to everybody that works with you at TidBITS. But there are clearly a lot of frontiers that we still have to cross. No question about it.
Exactly.
I mean, we're also looking a lot more broadly ourselves. So, for instance, the big changes that we've made personally in the last few months is we replaced a 2001 Honda Civic with a 2015 Nissan Leaf, an electric vehicle. And then about a week and a half ago, we turned on 20 kilowatts of solar.
I saw that picture on your Twitter feed. That's impressive.
So we are now powering our entire house, which is geothermal for heating and cooling. So we're not paying, in theory, at all for the heating and cooling and running all the computers, or for powering our Leaf, which is, that was one of our big goals, years and years ago when we sort of got started with the geothermal, replacing a dead boiler and everything like that. And, there is a certain level. I mean, someone posted, I forget, it was on Twitter or Facebook, where it was like, wow, the future is here. You're living in the future. All this stuff that we'd sort of thought we'd be able to do. What was it? 25 years ago, we might have electric cars. When I was a kid, my uncle actually worked for a nonprofit in Philadelphia that was promoting solar power. Actually, solar energy. They were not so much on the photovoltaics at the time because it didn't really work. Back when I was from, this was more like 40 years ago. But that was true. It was a tremendously cool experience to put all this stuff in. It does bad things to our lawn for the moment. They're still fixing that, but to just all of a sudden go out and look and say, wow, we made 120 kilowatts today. That's really pretty cool. And we'll be the way the power works in New York State. We'll be kind of sell it. Well, whatever we don't use gets sold back to NYSEG. So in theory, it should just all even out. So in theory, we'll have no bill at all. In reality, I'm sure it'll fluctuate one way or the other. We'll either use a little bit more or not. Use a little bit less than it equals out.
Yeah, and I had a major Back to the Future moment. I was at the grocery store earlier today, and a friend of mine came over to say hi, and she said, "Is that one of those Apple Watches?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was showing it to her, and the watch face that came up as I was showing it to her was the little glance that showed the music player, and the music player was giving me stop and start controls for the podcast that I was listening to in the car. I didn't even realize my watch could do that with the podcast that's playing in the car. I knew it worked with the music app on the iPhone, but I didn't realize that all that, Bluetooth thing could actually work. So those are the kinds of kind of crazy technology moments that have been happening a lot around here lately. And I think, like with TidBITS, a challenge that we really do face is, on the one hand, that kind of day-to-day nose to the grindstone coverage of, Apple has released a new, version of whatever it is, or, new laptops, or, just something that comes up quite often with Apple that our core readers do care a lot about, and we care a lot about too. But also, I think we do really have a desire not only to talk about the kinds of things we've been talking about broadly, which is sort of how people are going to deal with all this stuff, but also to be talking about some of the things that seem to be coming up in people's lives that are maybe a little bit more interesting than the latest version of OS 10.
I know one way we're going to deal with it is to get you both back here a lot more often to talk about it. This has been really interesting. I mean, we've been all over the map. And I don't think I asked more than one or two questions that I intended to get to. And
Sorry.
So no, it's
Mission accomplished once again.
It's great because
derail Chuck.
Well, yeah, there is that. Yeah, you get 10 points for that, Adam. But just the idea that these are conversations that need to be had. They're interesting to think about, and I hope we've given some people just a few things to think about from the Apple Watch perspective, maybe from some of the other perspectives, the self-driving car perspective, the running perspective. And I still would rather go play golf, but that's another discussion. So,
yeah, I don't know if they've got activity trackers for golfers exactly, like that we would record how many times the putter hit the ball.
Your Vivo Active has a golf mode. Your Garmin Vivo Active. It has a golf mode.
You're right. It does have a golf mode.
I have no idea what it means.
Pennsylvania. I guess I'm going to have to go play golf with you.
Come on, Tonya. Come on.
Take a lot of hits to get me around the course.
We'll let Adam run around the course while you and I play.
Sounds like a plan.
Speed golf is, I think you only get one club, and you're trying to. It's a combination of your score and how fast you accomplish it. And the only problem is that the world record is held by this guy named Steve Scott, who I believe at one time held the world record in the mile. So when you've got a world record holder in the mile in this other sport, there's just no hope. No one's ever going to beat him. I mean, it's just not fair.
Leave it to a runner to pervert something like golf. Relay speed golf? I don't even know what that means.
More than one player. So like you'd have handoffs at every tee.
You get to take your shot, and then it's an all-out sprint to the next hole.
Yeah.
Folks, I'm not responsible for any of this.
I think there's a sport there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than beer miles. I mean, I've never quite been able to handle the concept.
You could also have beer.
Yeah, I'll give you with that. So.
Ooh, a beer. Oh, so if you had a beer at every hole.
Beer relay golf would be even more fun.
Yeah, get harder as you went around.
The beer mile is hard enough on its own.
Just keep the people off the golf carts. Everything will be fine.
Yeah, as long as you're running, you're not going to get into accidents or anything. So.
Thanks for being here, guys. I don't know. Not only did I not get my questions answered, but I'm completely off the rails. I've lost control. Easy, Tonya. Hey, Adam, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Anytime, Jack.
We'll do it again. And Tonya,
right.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you for everything, and thanks for everything you've done for Mac Notables and MacVoices over the years. It's a blast, and we will do it more often. We need to tap more of your wisdom.
Sounds fun.
All right.
Folks, come back and see us when maybe we can stay on topic a little more. I doubt it, but I'm going to try. Until the next time, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching.
Good to have goals.
Thank you.
Hand off golf. I can't stand it. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the MacVoices blog. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the MacVoices Dispatch, to stay up to date on all the latest MacVoices news from our front page or at macvoices.com/newsletter. Do more with your Apple tech by subscribing to the free MacVoices magazine on Flipboard by visiting macvoices.com/magazine. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.